Mastering the BCBA supervision task list isn't just about checking boxes. It's about shaping confident and ethical clinicians who are ready for the real world. Whether you're a supervisor or a trainee, this episode breaks down how to turn supervision requirements into meaningful growth. Let's move beyond the paperwork and build the next generation of behavior analysts with purpose.
Hi, I'm Shira.
And I'm Shayna.
We are behavior analysts who create weekly content about how to teach kids with autism so that they make real progress. And we create shareable resources to make your job just a little easier. Today's topic is all about the BCBA supervision task list. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new video releases.
Sometimes when I think about supervision, I think about parenting. And sometimes I look at my supervisees and I'm like, oh, they're like my little children and I want to let them go. But think about it in terms of parenting. At what point do you let your child walk to their friend's house on their own? And what steps do you take to get them there independently and confidently? You don't just go, okay, well, you're this age now, so go walk to your friend's house. Usually it's about, okay, do you know the route? Let me walk with you one time. Okay, let me walk. You walk first and I'll walk behind you. Okay, maybe I'll follow you there or, text me, check in to make sure you got there okay, those types of things. And, we should be doing that for our supervisees as well as supervisors.
And I think it's a great analogy because with a lot of things like parenting, it's not like an age that our kids get to. Even the age where they're supposed to get their license. Sometimes as a parent, you would use your discretion and say, I need you to wait a little bit. Or there's no age where all of a sudden they're ready for a sleepover or they're ready for more responsibility. You're using your discretion as opposed to like this checklist that doesn't exist. It's about when they're ready. And I think that that has a lot to do with supervision. And our responsibility as supervisors is not just to check the things off the task list, but it is to create purposeful and prepared BCBAs.
And, we talk about the task list. The task list is so important because it does give us a guideline of, when they're ready. But it's not just about the task list. It's about more than the task list as well. So really the task list matters so much and it does play a critical role in shaping competent and ethical clinicians. But we do also need to go beyond that task list.
The task list is a great place to start because it gives us a starting point of teaching skill, conversations, what we're talking about, what we're working on, but then needing to make the connection between what we're reviewing with our supervisees on that task list and then applying that in real life because a lot of people can pass the exam, but that might not mean that they're actually ready for the day-to-day clinical work. And so when we're supervising, we want to make sure that we're taking the things on the task list and making them real and relevant for our supervisees.
Let's talk about some common supervision pitfalls.
So the first thing we've been saying is, treating the task list as a checklist. It's definitely a what not to do. Thinking about your supervisee as, someone who might need a certain path or a certain direction. What does this supervisee need to be competent? That might take you a little bit off the task list because it might be something that might not be on the task list. But it's looking at, same way we look at our learners as individuals, we're looking at this person as what does this person need to get where they need to go?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much emphasis on that task list, and I love it. And I usually use it as a baseline assessment and say, okay, you fill this out and tell me where you are on this task list in terms of learning things. And then we put it aside and we teach some other things as well. And then, talk about goals. Well, what is your goal? What do you want to get out of the supervision? So that can be super helpful.
One of the things that is one of my, I would say, biggest pet peeves is when the supervisee and probably the supervisor also are too hyper focused on the forms and the hours and the signatures and the details. And we tend to, as BCBAs, I think in general, get lost in those details, details of data sheets and details of writing programs, and we have to really see the bigger picture. And as much as we can keep, signing those forms and logging those hours, we have to be thinking critically about it. The same way we have to think critically about our learners. Just because we're signing a form, we're actually saying this person is ready. And so we have to think like, are they really ready? Should I be signing this form? Am I reviewing the hours that they're logging? Are they really competent in the things that they're saying that they're doing? It is a really big job.
Yeah, I mean, we have a supervision bundle that we offer, And in that supervision bundle, we have an assessment. It's a self-assessment as well as a supervisor and supervisee assessment every 250 hours. So yes, it's a lot of paperwork, but it goes beyond just logging those hours. It's about going, okay, I'm going to step back and I'm actually going to go, okay, am I learning what I want to learn? Are my goals being met? Am I teaching what I want to teach? So take a look at that as well. And oftentimes when we are just logging hours and just, okay, next meeting, then, we're overlooking those soft skills.
The other thing that I love about our supervision resource product is it does focus on some of the soft skills. So some of the things that are starting to be included on the task list, which is really nice, but some of the other things that we need to incorporate into our supervision are soft skills like communication, collaboration, clinical judgment, that might not be explicitly on the task list, but are so, so important for our supervisees to learn.
Let's talk about some strategies for meaningful supervision. And I think the key word there is meaningful.
So you want to look at, same way we look at programming as individualized, you want to look at our supervisee as an individual, supervision plan. What is this trainee's strengths? What is their learning style? What is their caseload? What are some of the areas of need or weakness? We like to ask our supervisees if they prefer to get feedback in person, in writing, in video format. Do they like to be, referred articles that they could read on their own, or do they really need to see things in action? These are all really important to know.
Absolutely. And, just like we talk about natural environment teaching with our learners, we can do some of the same things with our supervisees as well. So we can embed some of the task list items into some of these naturally occurring things into their case discussions. If we're in parent meetings, looking at some of those things on the task list and just really in that moment coaching.
I can't underestimate the importance of feedback. It can sometimes be really, really hard, but it is super important to have regular and ongoing feedback sessions, meaning like you need to be meeting regularly and giving both positive and constructive feedback and not avoiding difficult conversations. Because when you have those conversations, when things are still a small problem, you can give real actionable steps and then continue to monitor if this is getting improved or not. And then it has a much slower build up to a bigger problem if that ends up happening. But it shouldn't be a surprise because you should really have ongoing communication and feedback about what's working and what's not working.
Make sure you're documenting those structured feedback sessions as well. It's one thing to give some feedback on the fly, which I do a lot because feedback in situ is so important as well. But when you're actually sitting down for those structured feedback sessions, you might not be sitting, maybe you're standing, but making sure that you're documenting what went on in those meetings so that if there's ever questions afterwards, or if you ever say, well, I told you to do this, or, they told you to do that, or they asked you a question, that it's written down.
And remember to review the importance of making data-driven decisions in both skill acquisition and also in professional growth, because what we're working on with our supervisee is a similar skill acquisition program as we work on with our learners. So looking at the things that they're doing well, possibly having data on some of those things, and then, making decisions based on that data.
So let's go from those checkboxes on the task list to competence. And how do we gain that competence? So you can, create competence in a lot of different ways. The BST model is one of those ways. So, you can give some instruction and then you can role play or you can model if you're in situ, and then you have them jump in and do, and then you can give some feedback. That is always best case scenario. If you don't have a client there, then you can do some role plays, and you can just role play situations. You can even use some video models if you want and get some video footage of, your last supervision or their last supervision and go through that as well.
And remember that we're trying to build competent practitioners. So while it can be, feel like a lot of the burden is on us as the supervisors to provide all of these opportunities and to reach out to our supervisee and to make sure that they're competent, we also have to shape things like initiation with them and shape things like them seeking feedback and them being independent and competent in the things that they're doing. So there are times where you will want to remind them that they need to seek out out opportunities and that they need to show you that they're initiating certain tasks. And I think it's important to really encourage their own reflective practice. And whatever that looks like for them, we often will have them complete some kind of self-assessment. There might be an opportunity for peer feedback, really building more than just them doing the things that you're giving them to do, which is great, but it's not enough.
For sure. We also need to teach them ethical reasoning and problem solving. And that comes along with initiation, but we're not going to be there to hold their hand the whole time. So they need to learn how to problem solve themselves so that trainees can navigate those real world dilemmas when they come up and not just, look at textbook scenarios.
So, what are some of our real world tools and resources, and what do we use to help support supervision? One of those is our supervision resource bundle. It
I was
comes
just about to say that.
it comes with a lot of templates and checklists on things that go beyond the task list, different tools that help you stay organized, and still, within the requirements.
What I really like about that supervision checklist, not just checklist, but supervision bundle that we put together is in there. We have a whole bunch of recommended readings as well. And then we also have a template in terms of how they can review the article and some written feedback that they can give us. So those recommended readings are in there. There's other things in there, like there's some ethical scenarios in there as well, which are really great. Another way that we can support our trainees is by looking at those CEU opportunities. And it's not just about us as supervisors getting CEUs, and yes, yes, absolutely do that. But also, if there's anything that you think that the supervisee would benefit from, even though they're not gaining CEUs, bring them to conferences, show them a few webinars, get them involved in that community early.
There are some really great digital resources that can help track hours, and that really helps with organization, and it helps you as a supervisor being able to monitor what they're tracking for those hours. So look into some of those.
Let's talk about some key takeaways for supervisors and trainees.
So this is a collaborative relationship, right? It's not about, like I said earlier, it's not about you providing a curriculum for the supervisee and them checking this off of their list. It really is a relationship where they need to feel supported and challenged, but also empowered. But it also, you should be able to see growth in them, and they should be able to take on more and more responsibility. And it should be collaborative. You're not the one, you can't always be the one chasing them down for their forms, and they have to be working together with you.
So the final reminder, supervision shouldn't be just about getting those signatures or about checking off boxes. It's really about preparing the next generation of BCBAs to provide ethical, effective, and compassionate care.
For more information on a BCBA supervision task list, click the link on or around this video or in the description to get our supervision resource bundle. We also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and leave a like and comment below if you have further questions.